Hey everybody, welcome to Algebra 1, Section 3-4, solving multi-step inequalities. So in our last lesson, we talked about how to solve simple inequalities, just being able to do it in one step. Here we're going to take what we learned in Chapter 2 about the distributive property, solving with variables on both sides of the equation, and we're going to merge that with the idea of inequalities. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to solve multi-step equations using the distributive property. You should be able to solve multi-step equations with variables on both sides, as well as solve multi-step equations with word problems. So let's hop right to it. All right, so take a look at this first inequality. It looks like a beast. But if we break it down and do what we know how to do, we can tame it pretty quickly. So if we start with -3 minus 6 times 4x plus 6 is greater than -111. Now, a lot of people's first thought would be, oh, -3 and -6 makes -9. But we can't do that because this -6 is attached to the parentheses and the -3 is not. So they're not like terms. But what I can do is distribute that -6. So that -3 just comes on down. -24x minus 36 is greater than -111. Now, when I do that, I have some like terms that I can bring together. So -3 and -36, that makes a -39. And then it's just a normal two-step inequality like we know how to do. So let's add 39 to both sides. Let's see here, that's going to be, what, -72. Divide by -24. And I need to remember that when I multiply or divide by a negative, that inequality sign flips and goes the other direction. So x is less than 3. So then let's go ahead and graph it. We're going to be on 3 with an open circle. And since my arrow is heading to the left, I'm going to shade to the left. Problem done. Now that problem looked like a beast when we first saw it, but a few steps and we got it under control. Next problem. -138 is greater than or equal to -6 times 6b minus 7. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute that -6. Get -138 is greater than or equal to -36b plus 42. Well, that wasn't so bad. So now I'll just go ahead and get that 42 to the other side. We're looking at -180 is greater than or equal to -36b. Divide both sides by -36. And what is that? 5. So 5 is greater than or equal to b. So to graph it, we're going to start on 5 with a closed circle. And some people might think, oh, well, the arrow's pointing to the right, so let's shade to the right. But that only works if the variable comes first. So let's switch this thing around. See, the arrow is pointing at the b, so let's keep the arrow pointing at the b. So if I say 5 is less than or equal to b, that's the same thing as saying b is less than or equal to 5. So closed circle on the 5, and we're shading to the left. Problem done. So it's really not that we're learning anything new today. It's more just we're taking two old concepts and putting them together. Now take a look at this one. Just so many x's and negatives, it's kind of easy to get confused. But if we remember our steps, our order of operations, it shouldn't be that bad. First thing we want to do is we want to clean up this mess. And we can start cleaning up by distributing and then collecting like terms. So let's distribute the 7. And I get negative x is less than negative x plus 7x minus 14. Let's combine some like terms. So negative x and a positive 7x makes a positive 6x. Now, normally I say if you're trying to get your x's from both sides of the equation to the same side, then go ahead and move the smaller coefficient. But when we do inequalities, we want the variable on the left-hand side. So even if we got it on the right-hand side, we still flip it around at the end, like on the last problem. So my rule of thumb with inequalities, always move the variable to the left-hand side. So I'm going to subtract 6x. Make negative 7x is less than negative 14. Oh, much better. Divide by negative 7, and I get 2. Now remember, I'm dividing by a negative, so the inequality flips and goes the other way. So x is greater than 2. So open circle on the 2 and shade to the right. Similar idea here. Nothing to distribute. I can collect like terms. So if I collect like terms on the left-hand side, the negative 1 and negative 6 makes a negative 7 minus 6x is greater than negative 11 minus 7x. Now let's go ahead and get all the variables to the right-hand side, or sorry, the left-hand side. So let's add 7x. So negative 6x plus 7x is a positive 1x. Add 7. And I get x is greater than negative 4. Okay, not too bad. So open circle on the 4, negative 4. And I'm going to shade to the right. All right. Once you kind of get the first few steps done, the problems become much easier, which is good because we have a beast of a problem right here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute. Now I have 2 places to distribute, so I'm going to distribute both places. So that gives me negative 6 minus 42k plus 7 plus 42k is less than or equal to negative 2. Let's combine like terms, the negative 6 and positive 7. Those can make a positive 1. The negative 42k and the positive 42k, ooh, what happens there? Some people put, they cancel out, so I'm just going to put k. And that's not right, because a negative 42k and a positive 42k do indeed cancel out, but we don't put plus k there. And now we have a situation where our variables are completely canceled out. So remember, if your variables are completely gone, don't do any more work. It's either going to be no solution or infinite number of solutions. Okay? And so what we need to do is take a look. Do we have a true statement or a false statement? So if I have 1 is less than or equal to negative 2, is 1 less than negative 2? No. A positive number is always bigger than a negative number. So this is a false statement. So we would say no solution. And if we were to graph that, we would graph absolutely nothing. So by leaving the graph blank, we've done it correctly. Let's take a look at this one. Let's go ahead and distribute. So negative 10 minus 12n is less than 48 minus 12n. Let's get all the variables to the left-hand side, so let's add 12n. And I get negative 10, see those cancel out, is less than 48, and those cancel out. So again, the variables are all gone, and we have to take a look. Is this a true statement or a false statement? Negative 10 is less than 48. That's a true statement. So I would say infinite number of solutions, or you might see it expressed as all real numbers. So then when I go to shade, I'm going to shade the entire number line. And there we go. So don't forget about the situations where the variables completely cancel out, either no solution or infinite number of solutions. All right, last skill. Let's take what we've just learned and apply it to story problems, everyone's favorite. So, of course, first thing you do is you read it. Game Gear is a video game company that charges a one-time fee of $50 and then a monthly fee of $12.50 for unlimited video game streaming. OP Games is a similar company that only has a monthly fee of $19.99. How many months of play will it take for OP Games to cost more than Game Gear? So, what's it asking us to find? How many months? So I'll put M equals the number of months. And then go back and reread what's going on here. So Game Gear, they charge $50 plus $12.50 a month. Whereas OP Games only charges a monthly fee of $19.99. So as you recall from previous homework, when we're comparing two companies, we'll put everything from one company on one side, everything from the other company on the other, and then we'll go ahead and instead of putting an equal sign there, let's see what it asks us to do. It says, how many months of play will it take for OP Games to cost more? So OP Games was the $19.99, so I'm going to put more. So that's my inequality. 50 plus 1250m is less than or equal to 1999m. So now let's go ahead and start solving. Let's subtract the 1250, or actually, let's go ahead and subtract the 1999. Just because I like to get all my variables to the left-hand side. So I think that's 749m. Now over here, everything cancels out, so I have to put 0. Subtract 50. Divide by negative 7.49. And let's go ahead and get our handy-dandy calculator. And while we're typing this in, can anyone spot my mistake? The mistake here is that I divided by a negative number, but yet I forgot to flip the sign around. So I got 6.67. If I'm rounding, 6.68. So the original question is, how many months of gameplay does it take for the OP Games to cost more? Well, it would be exactly 6.68 months. So, because it says M is greater than that, to the nearest month, it would take 7 months for OP to cost more. So if you plan on playing video games for more than 7 months, I wouldn't go with the OP because there'll be more after 7 months. I'd go with the Game Gear. All right, so if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me in class or feel free to shoot me an email. And I hope this wasn't too bad for you. Have a good one.